Hello again. Oh yes, third session. This is my new record. This is like I'm starting breaking records. Um, I hope you can enjoy this one as well. So you see, we have this day is full of Helidon. Uh, well, main idea is that we show different aspects for using Helidon. This is the next aspect that we'll talk about. And it's actually about transactional microservices, of course, with Helidon. So I hope you have been on my previous talks. So they are to give more information about what Helidon is and how it to be used. We will focus more on transactional microservices here and how to do transactions. Well, still there may be some overlapping information with the previous talks for those who actually did come a little bit, well, from other talks maybe. So there may be an overlap. This is a small disclaimer. So once again, I'm part of the Oracle team. So I have to put this slide because whenever I give you any information in this presentation, it may change. So if you take business decision based on this presentation, please check everything again before actually implementing them because things may change. Okay, so my name is Dmitry. I'm part of the Oracle and I work for Project Helidon. So you can contact me on Twitter or email. I usually answer questions quite shortly. So once again, I like to start presentation with stars definition well, the previous task that I looked at in my previous presentation was the most common task in modern development is how to create a microservice. What's the best way to do this? And I sincerely hope that I gave an explanation why Helidon is a good choice. If no, I will give it a little bit later in this presentation. But the next thing that comes as our enterprises grow is, well, some time ago, is if we need to make this microservice transactional. Yes, so that means that suddenly all of a sudden we have a lot of microservices, and some of them form a kind of a transaction. It was extremely easy, or not easy, but it was I would call it kind of we got used to the transactions as monoliths, but for microservices it is a little bit different. And actually, let's see how to do this. And I will really like to jump directly in our examples. So I will just give an example, and we will actually create a small application together. I'll not create, actually use. I pre-baked it for you just in sake of time to demo how to do a transactional microservices, especially with Helidon. So, earlier this year, a good event happened. So Oracle became a title sponsor for a Formula One team. And I really much enjoy it because I'm a big Formula One fan. And this way, for this particular demo, we will jump directly into the definition of creating a transactional microservices. We will create a very small Formula One booking system. It's going to be extremely easy, but Formula One ticket booking system. So, but I will believe that it will give you a good context on what's happening without first jumping into theory and then doing, but we'll do it like bottom up this time. So how this booking service will work? For example, we have a facade, which is a Formula One booking service, and it has two calls which form a transaction. Which the first one is a seat booking service, and the second one is payment service. That means that by the paradigm of microservices, the main idea is that each service should care the best way for what it's doing. So that means that a service should care, seats booking service should care for seats. So this is something which is master of. And a payment service should care about payments. It should not care about seats. So that means that they are separate service, they live separate lives, and they're like every distributed system, they are just somewhere up and running, and we just talk to them using REST calls. And but they all, in business terms, form a transaction. So to make to book a ticket for Formula One, you have to book a seat and do the payment. So if you cannot book a seat because it's, for example, it's been already booked by somebody else, you cannot do the payment. I mean, if your payment did not go well, for example, you provided a fake credit card, then your seat should not be booked. So this is why they form a transaction, and how it's actually achievable in microservices in standard, I will call it, way. Of course, we come here to something which is called MicroProfile, which is a set of specifications for creating microservices. As you know, the specifications, they care for different aspects of microservices paradigm. But there is one specification, as once again, for those of you who don't know, this is a set of specification, and that means that every vendor implementing it, it's not an implementation, a vendor should take and implement it and provide it as a product. But in terms of specification, that means that all the code and configuration written inside of this MicroProfile specification is fully portable. It means you can take any code from any other vendor who's supporting MicroProfile, and you can easily port it to other vendor, including the configuration. So this is why actually this is important, and this is a standard way. Standard means that supported by many vendors. So, and one of those specifications was not listed there, but it's quite important. But it's made is currently it has the status of a standalone specification MicroProfile. What does that mean? If you talk about MicroProfile, the current version is 5. This means that it provides you this set of specification. Out of the box, you have 13 specifications that you have to support, or your product does support, and you can code your applications within this setup of features that all of these specifications do provide. So, and there are standalone specifications which are not yet shipped, but they're developed in the same community way, but they are not like part of MicroProfile. And this long-running action specification is actually what it is actually an implementation of Saga pattern. So you probably have seen this movie. So I really, every time I say Saga, this thing comes to my mind. So as an explanation, MicroProfile array provides loosely coupled transaction model that is based on Saga pattern. So the main idea is it relaxes some of the assets, atomicity, complexity, consistency. What was the other one? What was the? I should always, like, on this point, I always put a poll to see how many of you remember this typical interview question about what asset is. So in terms of asset, it relaxes this model and enables independent microservices to participate in what they call potentially long-running orchestrated activity, or in our case, they form like a transaction. So that means that if each microservice contributes to encapsulated logic, so it aligns with overall outcome of the activity or a transaction. This is exactly what I say. So several services may form one business transaction. In Helidon, we use Narayana on TMM as a coordinator, but I will talk about the coordinator a little bit later. So, oh, wait a second. Yeah, here it is. Sorry, some slides missed. So the main idea is that for our booking system, there will be a separate service running, which is a coordinator of these transactions. So that means that in order to form a transaction, each service should talk to a coordinator, which actually keeps all the information about each transaction happening and its state. So that means that in terms of array, there should be a different service running which actually talks to your microservices in a standard way to form this transaction and to manage this transaction. In our case, Helidon, for example, uses Narayana or Oracle TMM as a coordinator. So that means that we have to run either Narayana or TMM to be running, and as a standard way in MicroProfile array specification to talk to the services to form those transactions. Yeah, Narayana is a quite typical example of it, and Oracle Transaction Manager, for example, we will use this in our case. Is exactly it has many features, but one of them is exactly implementation of the Saga pattern, and more than that. It conforms to MicroProfile specification. That means that whenever some service, it may be written, for example, not with Helidon, not with, I don't know, someone that supports MicroProfile array, it can be written by a different vendor. It can be, for example, Payara or Open Liberty, but every time they talk to coordinator, it's done in a standard way. So that means that this TMM, as we call it inside, provides this functionality to you. It also has additional functionality like XA transactions, but it will be out of scope of this presentations. So as I said, in order to make this transaction working, we'll have to run additional service, which actually forms this transaction. And as I said, there are two main participants involved. First of all, our usual JAVAPRO, for example, microservices, and they are annotated with special array annotations, which actually makes the magic for us to communicate with arrays. So the users or the coders themselves, they do not have to write any code specific to calling this array coordinator. So they just have to annotate their methods with special annotations that I'm going to talk a little bit later. And underneath, they will do additional requests to this array coordinator to start transaction and transaction, or for example, roll back or compensate. We will see this a little bit later. And once again, this is the coordinator, which is a separate devoted service that runs as a separate service. And actually, it manages all these transactions with all these calls, actually, which are coming from other services, or he has the possibility to call other services for compensations and for in order to the transactions to be done. And as I say, magic. Actually, magic happens with several annotations. So in your code, you just annotate your class with array, and by magic becomes something which is controlled by a coordinator. There are several annotations which are made to annotate methods specific to what happens inside a transaction. So for example, as I said, array is a relaxed model, so it does not take any of your automatic transactions to just put it transactional. and it will simply work. No. First of all, you annotate your method as an array. That means that it will start transactions and be part of a transaction. You will have to have a separate method, which, for example, completes a transaction. We will see it in our example. And this complete method has been automatically called by Ellery coordinator. For example, if some problem has happened, we have to compensate this transaction. For example, our money transaction did not go well. There is a special annotation to be put on a method, which will be called if compensate should be done. Other things are status, for example. It just says here that it just says whether you're in transaction or what is the status of this transaction. Like we have to leave annotation and forget any information about the transaction, which is done. So let us actually do it. And once again, to make this example work, we will use our famous Helidon. I will be really short on that, but most probably you have been our previous talk, but just for those who have come to this session once again, I'll be very brief, saying that Helidon is a Java framework for developing microservices. Its name stands for Swallow, which is a wonderful representative for a bird flying in the clouds, like microservice working in the clouds. It's been under Apache 2.0 license, which is awesome because all the code is outsourced and you can easily contribute to it, or you can submit issues that will be fixed by the team, either the community. It's built on asynchronous natty. It's cloud native ready. As I remember, I showed you this picture with MicroProfile saying that there are several specifications. So Helidon actually supports this specification, which means that it has all the health checks, metrics, and tracing available to you out of the box. And has wonderful native image support. And as a result, the numbers which you can see here are awesome. That means that memory footprint, disk usage are small, and the startup times are really wonderful. But you see that there is this third metric. That means that with Helidon, since it's modular out of the box, you can build completely, out of that code. I would call it custom images containing only the application and only the JVM with modules that are required to be used there. The general architecture is very, very easy. So we have Netty, which is underneath. We have Helidon Reactive, which is in the middle. I will tell about later, and Helidon MicroProfile, which is exactly the MicroProfile supporting version of Helidon. That means that we fully implement MicroProfile. And that means that whenever you have a code which is running, which supports MicroProfile code and configuration, you can easily drop it in Helidon and it will work out of the box. So the migration is made extremely easy. And as I told you, with Helidon SE and Helidon MP, you can choose different flavors and ways to work with Helidon. The MP means that it follows Jakarta MicroProfile way of doing things, which is a declarative style with annotations. It follows like boot or EE way of doing things. It's fast, it's easy to write with few annotations, you make everything running. Or you can choose Helidon SE, which is a pure reactive version of the framework, which stands underneath actually the MicroProfile MP, but it's so nice that it can be like a standalone engine. And it's fully reactive and no blocking, but there's no magic there. It's pure Java, so you can only use override annotations there. And it works really, really fast. So just a few words about Helidon MP. If you remember this MicroProfile, this 13 specification, which form at this point MicroProfile version 5. Helidon does fully support them, but not only this, but also additional specifications. I call it additional, but they should be named like standalone. So that means we have MicroProfile specifications, which is like config fault tolerance metrics or open API. And then you have this this standalone specification, you can see MicroProfile array here. This is exactly what we'll be using today for the example. There are also additional specifications like reactive streams and messaging. I believe that this sessions are recorded, so if you want to know more about them, I gave an explanation about how to use them on my first talk today. So I believe the organizers will publish this videos and you can have a look at them. But, and you see, more than that, you even have some Jakarta specifications like persistence, WebSocket transactions. That means that when you get Helidon, you get not only MicroProfile, but a lot more. And to learn more about MicroProfile messaging, reactive streams, etc., just I believe the videos will be published, so have a look at them. But this time I will focus on this MicroProfile array specification. So just to let you know that all of this is compilable to GraalVM native image, and we are happy that we have full support of CDI with Weld. And this Weld also works with the GraalVM native image, making us very, competitive in the class because you have full CDI support, both in native image. A few words about Helidon Reactive. We call it our danger zone because, as you remember, NETI stands in the foundation. Now we rub it with some additional libraries that actually work for underneath supporting this specification. So we have configuration, metrics, tracing, health checks, course, and even more additional goodies like reactive web client and reactive DB client. I think you will be more interested in that. If you're more interested in that, just once again, go to my first talk of today, and you will you will see this as that's more demonstrated there. So the numbers are pretty low. It's even lower than usually. But once again, there's one thing. LRA is currently Helidon MP specific only. So that means that you can do LRA in Helidon MP, but not in Helidon SE. So this is an important remark. And whenever you want to start a project, so actually, I said we will prepare a demo for today or directly demonstrating you this new feature. If you want to start a project, you just go to our helidon.io site and press the startup button, and you can generate your project with this wonderful new starter. It's available to you after the 3.0 release. So I really encourage you to do that. Or you can do it with our Helidon CLI application. It's also been updated to conform to the new style of generating code projects. Because for you, those of you who don't know Helidon, for example, there has already been available Helidon CLI, which was with lower functionality, giving you the possibility to generate only quick start and database applications. And now, for example, you can generate custom applications, which was done for this example. But for this example, especially, not to do this online, to write code online, I can't type that fast. I have created this project with the starter, and let us actually see them. So once again, if you remember that picture, we have 3 services. The Formula 1 service is like a facade, which calls additional service, which is Formula 1 payment service, and seat booking service. They don't know anything about each other. So they are microservicing, doing their best. That means that they only book places and book seats and do payments, but they all form a transaction. So what does that mean? Let us actually run directly in some code. So 3 services, they are quite small. I really intentionally make them very small for you to play. And what we have here. So it's a booking service. That means that here we book our seats. As I told you, this project is done with Helidon MP. That means that you see a lot of code here with annotations. We are following MicroProfile model. And as you see, the MicroProfile array is just a specification, and Helidon has a support for it. So you just add a dependency and it will work for you. It will add additional annotations, which I was talking in the slides after, which helps us form a transaction. So for example, we create a resource with one get method. It will be extremely simple. So I would really like it to keep it simple and stupid to make it really easy. So we just get method, but what's most important here? So with just one annotations, we declare that this method should begin a transaction. We just annotate the method with array and requires new. This means that every time this method is called, somewhere inside of Helidon happens magic, as we say, and it finds the coordinator, array coordinators, and say, okay, here is me. I'm a service. I want to make booking, and I start a transaction. Where does he find this method? Actually, in properties, we just say, as we start in this port, here is the coordinator at this URL. You know, it started as a different service, and here is my participant URL. Okay, so the array coordinator can find me on this URL. So whenever array coordinator wants to call something from our service, he can find us under this URL. Why did I say that? Because as we annotate this method, we start a transaction here. You see, we automatically have to add a new variable with a header param, which is array. So it means that it transfers this information using headers. It's a special URL array ID, which is provided with this transaction, which is like a way to distinguish between transactions. Here comes the business logic. I'll talk about it later. And for example, after array, as we say, like this method should be called after the transaction is done. That means that the array coordinator, after the transaction is done, he received all the information about the transaction, will call our service with the URL I have provided to you, participant URL, and say, okay, now call me this on array function with this URL ID, just to say, okay, guys, we're done. So what is happening as a business logic? It's once again very simple. So we have, it will be very, very easy. We have a seat number and a count number. And what we will do, we will call other services, two services. The first one is seat booking service saying, okay, please book a seat. And well, they say, just log some information for us, like if everything went smoothly, I booked a seat. And another parallel call actually is now please do me the payment. So we just give the card number we have received from the parameters, so just confirm it, and it will just give a response. So this all forms a business transaction for us. Let us see the other services, what we have here. So let's go to the payment service, for example. Once again, we just say, where is the coordinator? And we say who we are in this coordinator. How can we find us? And let's take a look at the resource. Once again, since we're using Helidon MP, there are annotations. So this service runs on payment path. And there is another get method here. Once again, keep it really, really simple and stupid. Here we say that this method should be part of a transaction. So that means that we annotate our array with type mandatory. That means that there should already be a transaction for us this method to complete correctly. Once again, we have this URI, so a header for the array ID. And the only thing, we have a card number. Here, I simulated, like, for example, if you give a bad card, it will not work. If you give any other card, we'll say that, okay, the response went smoothly. And once again, here is a method, like, for example, when the array is done, like array is finished, so we are done here. Nice. So once again, keep it very simple. And the same is for seat booking service. It's once again scoped. It's just a resource, so unavailable on this path. And we say, for example, if you want to book a seat, we once again say this book seating process has to be part of a transaction. And we create a booking, and we say only, I also simulated this thing, saying, like, for example, if seat 1F is provided, then it will be like already booked. And we will say like status conflict. That means that this service returned us, no, we don't have to, we're not allowed to continue. And here, for example, if we know that payment was wrong, we say a compensate action. And this compensate action means that we just log information here. We don't do anything, that a rollback should be done. And this should be unbooked seat for us. Yeah. And on a complete, we say just seat booking process is like completed. As easy as that. So once again, all of them know where the array coordinator is. They are properly annotated with, like here, for example, we start a new transaction, and in other services, we require this transaction to be there. And underneath, our server communicates to array coordinator for seeing the statuses. So let me just, where is my terminal? Yes, so there's my terminal. I will just start a transaction manager. In my case, there will be just a Docker image. This command is really, really scary, but what it does, it starts an array coordinator. In my case, this is a TMM, Oracle TMM coordinator, but you can also start an Ariana coordinator. It's also available to you. It can be just a jar file. Or even in Helidon, we have an experimental feature to have our own coordinator based on Helidon. But for currently this demo, I won't show it because we have TMM, which is a nice product, and we will use it. So what it did, it started a service, which is a coordinator. Now, what we have here, we here have, okay, even showed us some of the code which I played with it. So I wonder if the demo goes out with me this time. We'll see how it runs. We will start services. Here I will cheat a little bit. I will use our Helidon dev function, dev CLI, which starts the service and actually waits for changes. So it builds the application for us and starts it for us, which is extremely easy for development. So it's just build something, if something has changed, and it runs. You see, all the services are running on different ports. So let us curl some URLs. For example, we need to, our local host, that means here's the F1 booking service. This is the main facade running for us. We need to book a place 6F, and we provide some credit card, which is a very short credit card. So it just booked for us, but what happens? Here is the main interest. The main thing. This is the service which called seat booking service with a response OK and the coordinator, array coordinator. So this is the transaction. Start the transaction and do the payment. And next is the payment service, which said, okay, I've booked a place for you, and here is the LRA ID. What happened here? He said, okay, we received the payment information with this ID, and it was done correctly. Now we see the seat booking service output. Okay, it's good. 6F, for example, is not booked, so we will book it, and everything works smoothly. Okay, but what will happen if we book seat, for example, 1F, which is occupied? We know that it's occupied. So you see, precondition failed, so the LRA did not work. Wait a second. There's something happened with the LRA. Just a second. Oh yes, yeah. Now good. As we see, the seat is already booked, and in another service with payment service, we received a response that the transaction has to be rolled back. Just a second. Let me try it again. Just to be completely sure. We just run it. It's serving right now. Let us restart the services. There's some issue with that, yes. And there's the booking service. You see, it all starts very fast. Let's do the curl again. Yes, the service response is that we are in conflict, exactly. So what we have done, so as conflict, that means that we have thrown an exception after LRA that this set is already booked. So this is the way we form a transaction with the LRA. Nice. Let me try, by the way, a wrong credit card, if it works. I guess it should. Oops, it should work. So this way, for example, we are sure that this credit card is fake, and it should work. So we have thrown an exception because with this, no, it wasn't able to join. Something is wrong. We really throw an exception, a legal state exception, that this card is not valid. And that's why we have a precondition failed, and that's why the LRA says, no, this transaction is not working. So in this small demo, I tried to show you how it works. So whenever you have to create transactions, let's switch back to our presentations. Whenever you have to do this, so strictly LRA is a way to do this. And if you choose, for example, Helidon to do this, we have this LRA support. And this LRA support provides you a way to create your transactions with just few annotations. So I guess if you want to learn more about Helidon, you may take a look at our new book. We are working together with Daniel Katz and Dmitry Kornilov. It's already available in Manning. So just have a look at this. There's a wonderful session I try to promote by my colleague Thomas Lange about Helidon and virtual threads with Java and Loom synchronous performance. You can take a look at this tomorrow. It's about our new product called Nema. I will believe that this is really changes everything in terms of performance. So please have a look at this tomorrow. And if you want to have a look more about Helidon, please check about all our resources, which are Twitter, mostly on website, Medium. By the way, in Medium, you can find a wonderful example by using Helidon Array by Daniel Katz. It's much bigger than this one for this demo purposes. It's a cinema booking system done with these transactions. And you can actually play with it. You can play with it either on your local machine or in Minikube or in Kubernetes environment. So please have a look at this. And if you have questions, just Slack us on helidon.com. And there are also some videos there. Yes, so I believe that we have some questions, and even Daniel Katz, thank you, Daniel, helped us with that. So we have a question about what happens if the coordinator crashes. So yes, it has a lock. If the transaction timeout supported, yes, it is supported. As you see it, even in my code, I just say, what is this L array? Not here, but in the resource, you say like time limit is 30 seconds. So it will just call compensate actions if something did not work well. So we have time limit, you can just specify it. You can do also properties as well. So this answered your questions. So basically this is it from my side. And I really hope you enjoyed this sequence of Helidon talks. Once again, 3 talks in a row is hard. It's a new experience for me. And I know there was some overlapping information, but to keep it persistent, I have to repeat some of the information about Helidon. So that's apologies for you who actually watched all 3 of the talks, but who came from different contexts. I hope you once again enjoyed the talk, and I hope you really find it useful. Does LRA also handle retries? I believe yes. So you can specify how many retries you can do in the specification. You just have to do this. I will check this as well. So basically, this is it. And I thank you very much for being part of this presentation and this presentation series. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you so much.